Hello friends and welcome. I'm Sarah Liz and I am back with another emergency card kit. If you're new to my channel, an emergency card is one where we make the cards ahead of time, but we leave the sentiment off. That way, when an occasion arises, we can choose the card that best fits the person and the sentiment that best fits the occasion. To help you with this, I release a free printable on the 1st and 15th of every month for my subscribers. It lets you mix and match your sentiments across your cards so you're prepared for any emergency occasion. So let's take a look at the kit. We are tackling fall and Thanksgiving and kind of football in this one. If you have requests for sentiments or sentiment themes, please put them in the description box below the video. I'm planning on more holiday sentiments in the middle of October. And so let me know, do we want just Christmas? Do we want New Year's on there? I don't know how many people send New Year's cards. Do we want other holidays in there as well? We've covered Halloween, we're covering Thanksgiving now. I had a request for religious sentiments, just one. And I've got one or two like praying for you sorts of things. I don't send a lot of religious cards. So if you are interested in that, please put it in the comments below and give me suggestions on like what kinds of religious sentiments you want. And I can try to accommodate that. It might be that they're added in kind of as they fit the theme. But if there's a lot of requests, I can do one of just religious sentiments. But I could really use your help with that. Okay, the sentiments here, we have, oh my gourd, let's get cozy, warm autumn wishes, hello gorgeous, hashtag hallelujah, sweater weather is always better, I love you more than pumpkin spice, let's get spicy, pumpkin spicy, happy football day, the most wonderful time of the year. I'm just here for the perfectly round cranberry surprise, and I need to know, do you eat jellied cranberry sauce, the stuff that comes in a can? My father-in-law calls it perfectly round cranberry surprise. And for me, it's a deal breaker. Like every bite of Thanksgiving needs some jellied cranberry something, or I'm not eating that. Like I'm just not interested anymore. So I want to know, like, is that part of your Thanksgiving meal? Do you have a different favorite something? Do you eat something odd? We do 2 Thanksgivings. So on Thanksgiving Day, we are with my in-laws. And then the day after Thanksgiving, we're with my family. Everybody's in town. And my in-laws come to that one. So to avoid 2 like back-to-back Thanksgiving feast days, my mother-in-law cooks a meatloaf and shapes it like a turkey. And it is one of my very favorite meals in the whole world. So if I had to pick my favorite Thanksgiving food, it is meatloaf shaped like a turkey, but then jellied cranberry sauce right after that. So tell me about your weird Thanksgiving things. Gobble till you wobble. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy football and turkey day. So very much to be grateful for. Family, food, and football. These are a 1 3/4 inch circle. And so if you use a punch or a die and you line it up so that you just can't see that circle anymore because it's slightly bigger, you will know that it's centered. And I put these out with 2 versions, right? This one is the same size sentiments, but without the circles in case you're using a different size die or maybe not a circle. Then we have strip sentiments. These are the exact same sentiments, but they're little tick marks to help you line them up and cut them out straight. And so we have a couple sort of whimsical fonts, and then we have a couple sort of fancier fonts. And then we have our card sketch. In the last couple of kits, we've been making a bunch of pop-up stuff. So I thought we would go back to kind of where we started and do a card sketch that's really rooted in patterned paper and keeping things simple. Though I can't help myself. I will add a few die cuts, but that's completely optional. There will be a second video coming out next week where we step up the sketch and we'll turn it into a fun fold. But I like this layout even without that, okay? So I am starting with these 2 layers here. My light gray mat is going to be an A2 size. So that's this piece that's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And then this purple layer that's kind of in the background is 4 by 5 1/4. And so I've chosen this pattern. I am not sure, honestly, if this paper is still available. I've used it before in, I think, the other kit where we covered fall cards. It's called Songbird Fields by LDRS Creative. I'll show it to you. I love this paper because it has some deep, rich plums and teals, and it's not just, you know, oranges and browns. Like, I can't do that. You, if you watched my channel at all this fall, you know that. And so last time I used this, maybe a month or two ago, it was on clearance on her website, and I will link it if it is still available. But you know, use whatever you have, whatever is your favorite for fall. I wanted to show you, as we're moving into this next piece, we have a dark gray matte layer. So I've cut mine out of the same teal as my card base. And that is 4 1/4 by 1 inch. Okay. And then I'm going to have this sort of pink rectangle is 4 by 3/4 of an inch. I cut mine out of like a scrap of some specialty cardstock. And I used a strip die. You know, I love strip dies. These are from Cat Scrappiness, and they have this like stitched line in the middle, so it looks like ribbon. But you could replace this with ribbon, or this is the piece of pattern paper that I cut off of, I don't know, the top or the bottom, must have been the bottom here. It is the exact size that you need for this. You could do the same pattern paper, or you could do 2 cards at once and just flip flop, right? So this pattern paper on that one, and sort of switch them in that way. This is going to be an exact measurement. Like if you print this at 100%, this is to scale. So I can hold my card on here and figure out kind of where that strip is, if that matters to you. But if it doesn't, right, just eyeball that. I want mine peeking out a little bit from behind this square situation. So I'm going to keep an eye on it. I'm just using my wet glue, and then I will center that 3/4 inch piece in the middle of my 1 inch piece. Okay. And I'm going to wait to glue mine down, right? I want to make sure I can see all the things I want to see. Then I'm working with these squares. I have 2 squares. One is 3 3/4 of an inch square, and one is 3 1/2 inches square. You could use a pattern paper here. This has some really great texture. I got it in my Your Paper Insider box that just came with tons of really great specialty cardstock. This is like a really heavyweight something. And I'm going to create a focal image there. And so I wanted something that was a little more muted. This is going to tell you where to trim off the side. You can eyeball it. Okay. You can just put this on your card, glue it down, and trim off what's left over. I'm going to show you how to trim it because in the next video where we're going to make the fun fold, it does matter. So for my larger square, it is 3 3/4 of an inch square, and I am orienting it like a diamond. And this says to trim the corner off. So it's going to be this corner right here at 1 1/4 inches from the center. Okay, so I'm going to take my piece of cardstock, and I'm just looking for that 1 1/4 inch mark here. And I'm going to put one of my points there. And I'm just counting over. It's 3 from the edge for me. So I can find it at the top. Okay. And that's going to give me my straight cut here. So this is going to fit on the edge of my card. Okay. So I will have my little strip, and then this will go here. You can center it if you want. I actually am going to push mine slightly higher. I don't know why I like it like that, but I do. Okay. So there's that piece. To cut the smaller square, this one's 3 1/2 inches square. I'm going to rotate again, and I need to cut off a little bit less. Okay, so it's 1/8 of an inch less. So this would be right at that 1 1/4 inches again. 1/8 of an inch is 1/2 of a 1/4 inch. So I'm just going to move it right in between and trim it there. Okay, so here are my 2 new pieces, and I'm not going to butt this up against the edge. I want that equal margin all the way around. That's why we needed to cut 1/8 inch. You can maybe see it better over here. So I'm going to go ahead and glue that down. Then I can kind of look at the placement of these 2 pieces at the same time. And that's what I want. I kind of like that little peak of the gold from behind. So I'm going to glue that across the top first. And then I'm going to wait to glue this one down. I'm going to add some die cuts and I want to get that figured out first. Ultimately, I will then add my circle sentiment mat, that 2-inch circle right down at the bottom. I am going to use the Autumn Wonder die set from Spellbinders. This is huge and I've used it a bunch lately. It's just got everything for fall. We have 4 mushrooms, we have a bunch of leaves, a couple of pumpkins or gourds, some acorns. And I just think this is really simple. A lot of these have 2 layers or 1 layer. And it just is an extra little something that's really quick and easy to add to a card. So off camera, I layered up my die cuts. I had to add 4 pieces, right? There's 2 here, 1 here, and 1 here, and that's it, right? Everything else is a single layer. And so I'm just gonna kind of arrange my leaves as a backdrop, and then maybe the pumpkins kind of on top of that. I also love cream for fall. I just think it's a lovely accent to all of the deep, rich colors that we find kind of throughout the season. Once I get these pieces where I want them, I'm going to bring in a sticky mat. This is like a cheapo something from Amazon. And this isn't adhered to my card yet. So I am going to pick it up by laying this in the corner of the square. Okay. So when I lay it back down, it'll be in the same spot. Okay. And I'll press. Some people use press and seal for this. Press and seal doesn't work for me. I am not that dainty. So I'm just going to stick my glue bottle underneath each of these little pieces to adhere them down. And then I can put glue behind everything and adhere it to my card. Okay, and then I'm just lining this back up in the same corner of my square diamond. And when I press that, it's going to be right where I picked it up from. And I'll peel it back very carefully. Okay. So then I can just pick this piece up and trim off the extra. That's super easy. That's a single layer of die cuts, and so it's not hard at all. I'm going to glue this down to my card base now, and I can put glue everywhere. There's nothing that's overhanging the edge. Because of the way we cut that diamond, we have the same margin right here that we do on the rest of the card. And I really think that that adds a super polished look. If you don't like to do that 1/8 inch measurement, you could certainly just trim off the extra and let that diamond hang off the edge. Our arrangement is doing that anyway. But you know, it's easy enough for me. I'm gonna add my little acorn right here, just a little extra something. And then here is my sentiment mat, and I'm going to pop that up. I have a lot of layers of cardstock going on here, and so I think it just sits a little better with some foam. And actually, these are 2mm foam squares. I usually use 1, but there's already some thickness on the card, so it's probably a hand deliver for me anyway. It's probably fine through the post. I don't know. I don't risk it. Okay, so this is going to go in the corner, and I'm leaving just a little sort of equal space on these 2 sides, and then it overlaps that diamond. And I love the sort of organic shapes and the circle, and then the clean lines from our diamond and then our stripe up at the top. And you know, the funny sentiments are my favorite. So I'm having a hard time deciding between these 2. But I think I'm going to go with Let's Get Spicy, pumpkin spicy. Do you like pumpkin spice? I like pumpkin bread, right? I don't do pie. I don't drink coffee. But pumpkin bread, pumpkin muffins, I am here for it. And my 5-year-old is on my pumpkin team. He will steal all of my pumpkin everything. So I am just going to use my removable adhesive to add that sentiment in case I want to change my mind later. If you want to glue it down, you can always glue a new sentiment over the top later. You're cutting it out in the exact same size. And that will finish up card number 1. Card number 2 is very similar. So we're going to start the same way with our A2 matte layer that's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and then some pattern paper that is 4 by 5 1/4. Okay, so that's both of these pieces right up top. Then I have the same 2 pieces here as well. I have a piece that's 4 1/4 by 1 inch, and then a piece of specialty cardstock that is 4 by 3/4 of an inch. And I've used the same colors even, and that paper is from that same paper pad. You guys, I'm trying to go through my stash. I have so much pattern paper. I'm going to go ahead and add this to the top because I'm not going to have this same kind of overlap. There is a note down here. I've changed the label on the note called Stretch the Sketch. And one of the suggestions I make is to switch out this shape here. We're going to use circles on this card instead of squares. You can do the squares without any dies at all. The circles are going to require, you know, a little bit more. So I have cut 2 circles. This one I cut from, it's a silver vellum, but really it's just a slightly thicker vellum, a little more opaque. I didn't want to cover up so much of my pattern. If you don't have this kind of vellum, something with a little shimmer to it, you could just cut 2 pieces of vellum if you want it to be a little more opaque. And then this piece I cut with that same 4 1/4 inch circle, and then I put a 4-inch circle on the inside. So I used the Waffle Flower nesting circle dies. If you don't have a good set of circle dies, I love these. They have the nesting circles, and these are a 1/4 inch apart for each of them. And then there's additional circles that are the 1/8 of an inch in between. You don't have to cut them apart. They come already separated. They come with this little magnet piece. They come, I think there was a pocket. I lost the pocket, right? Like, they're really, really great dies. And the price point's pretty good. Like, I'm continually impressed with Waffle Flower, especially how popular they've been lately, but I feel like their prices are affordable. So I am going to glue this circle frame onto my card. You could do this same thing with any shape of die you want. I thought about using Spellbinders Hexi-Gems. I thought about bringing in the Floral Reflections dies. Like, just make it interesting. See what you want to put on top of that and how it fits. I'm going to be really careful here because I don't want glue going everywhere. So this piece, again, I want to have hang off the edge, and I'm not really sure yet how high I want that. So here I have my 2-inch circle that's going to come down here in the corner. And then I cut out another piece of just pattern paper from that same paper pack that is 1 3/4 of an inch because I'm going to use a strip sentiment on this one. So I know I want to use a sentiment that's something like football and pie and turkey. I have a couple options in the kit. And so I have this pie, right? That's kind of hard to see, but I have a pie, and that comes from this Spellbinder set called Perfect Pies. And it's literally, it's just a pie. I think this is probably still available. I just bought it this summer on super sale. I always mark mine when I got them. But if it's not, because they just had their warehouse sale, there is another one from Photoplay that's really similar that just came out. So I'll link them both below, but use what you have, right? Check your stash and see, like, what do you have that might work here? So I know I want that kind of up there somewhere. And then I also want football something. So I cut out this little football, right? And it's just 2 pieces. Like, that white is just coming through the back. I think this is really well designed. This is new from Spellbinders. Also, it has all the sports balls. So this event is football. I'm mostly watching football for the dip. But then, like, there's a volleyball. I love women's college volleyball. There's lacrosse and hockey and some sports that I don't see often in sporting goods sets. So if you don't have one, if you're looking for one, I think it's a good option. But again, use what you have. And I think I'm going to put my little football down here. Before I glue all of these pieces down, I'm going to cut out my strip sentiment. So I am using this one that is a little whimsical. And I think I want the Happy Football Day. Of course, it's right in the middle. So I will just kind of get you started here and show you how this works. And then I'll cut the rest off camera. So I'm going to stick this in my trimmer. So I'm cutting straight down the middle through those tick marks. I want the tick marks on both sides. And then I will cut on this side as well so that the tick marks are hanging off the edge. I almost cut too much on this one, but it's going to be okay. So I am going to turn this direction, and I am visually lining up the tick marks with the edge of my blade because I don't trust my printer or yours to cut straight, and then I will cut. I want to square this off so it's 90 degrees, and I do that by putting this edge that I just cut on the bottom and this edge in the trimmer. I have to be really, really careful because I already took off a lot of that tick mark. But there we go. And now I can just look at one of the tick marks as I'm moving along, and I will know that they are straight. Okay, so here's my Happy Football Day, and I am going to bring that back into my trimmer, and I'm going to use the inside of this finger guard, and I'm just going to put the text right up to that guard and trim, and then I'll do the same on the other side, and I will know that my margins are equal. And then I have a piece of cardstock that's 3/8 of an inch wide. And then it's just kind of a leftover piece, right? So I'm going to put my sentiment on first, and then I'll trim it down to size. I want an equal margin on the top, bottom, and left. Okay, so that looks pretty good. And then I'll bring it into my trimmer and just take off slivers until it looks right. And that's it. I like that this sentiment is small because we already are trying to fit an awful lot onto this card. And I kind of like it when my sentiment like overlaps the images that I'm using. So I'm going to start by adhering some of these pieces down to the vellum so that I have a place to hide the adhesive on the back of that vellum. I'm going to use some thin foam squares for my sentiment because there's a lot of layers of cardstock and texture going on, and I just think it might be nice to raise this up a little bit. And I'm going to put this kind of overhanging the pie. Okay. I'm going to flip this over and add glue a little bit around the edges behind the pie, and then I'll use my glue bottle later to kind of tuck some glue underneath where this piece is going to overlap. Then I just want to make sure that my sentiment and my pie are straight. I know that my pie was most of the way on the card, and then I will press that down. I'm going to pop up this piece with some more thin foam squares. There are larger ones, but I can't find mine right now. So I'll be back once I get these all added on. So I'm adding just a little bit of glue to these to make sure I get my placement right. We're almost done with the card, and that's when I start to panic. And again, I'm looking for that same, like a little bit of an equal margin on those two sides. And I will press that down. And I'm just going to add my football with a little bit of glue. I think I want it going this way. I'm going to bring in my trimmer to cut that edge just because there are a couple layers, and I find that when I'm switching thicknesses from like the vellum to the cardstock, sometimes I struggle a little bit with that with my scissors. Okay, so I finished it and I did the reveal and I was like, you know what, that card doesn't look done. So I grabbed some of the extra pieces. When I cut out stuff like that, I just cut out a bunch. I grabbed some leaves. When in doubt on a fall card, add some leaves. And you know what? We're gonna grab our sticky grid too and see if we can pick it up this way and get them right back where they are right now. Okay, well, this one's not going to move because he's kind of stuck down into some of that foam adhesive. So I'm just going to tuck my glue bottle under there. It's going to be fine. Then I'm going to add my glue. All right, press those down a little better. Trim that off the side. And then here, I probably need to add a little bit more foam. I made sure that there's no foam on the back of here. And so I'm just kind of filling in spaces. Okay, I got to be really, really sure this time because I'm adding glue again. And I can get it up with a heat tool if it's just foam adhesive, but I can't once it's glue. So here we go. And now this card is really, really, really done. And I like that extra pop of color that we get from the leaves. It doesn't feel like there's so much empty space in that circle. More is more, friends. So that will finish up our 2 cards for today. Let's take one last look at the printable. We tackled fall and Thanksgiving sentiments. I had a lot of fun with these. We have them both with and without the circle. And then we have 4 fonts for our strip sentiments. I so appreciate all the feedback I get from you guys. I think we're going to stick with this new scripty font for now. I've gotten really, really great responses, and that always helps me. I just want to make things that are useful for you. So with that in mind, please let me know if there are sentiment themes that you would like me to put on the list, or if you have particular sentiments that you would like on the list. I'm going to try to tackle holiday sentiments again in the middle of October. There's still time to get those requested. Just leave them in the comments. I do my very best to reply to every single person who comments on my video. If you take the time to do that, I will take the time to reply to you. It means the world to me, all the feedback I get from you guys. Additionally, if you're interested in religious sentiments, I want to know about it. I've gotten just the one request lately, and I don't send religious cards, and so I'm not really sure what those sentiments would say. So let me know, yes or no. Let me know if you have ideas for sentiments, if that's something that you're interested in, and I would appreciate that as well. And then don't forget, we have our card sketch here. There will be another page or 2 next week in the stepped up version because we're going to do a fun fold. And I can't wait to share that one with you. Really, a lot of the times these start as fun folds, and then I sort of step them back a little bit to keep them simpler for video 1. If you are interested in the download, all I ask is that you subscribe to my channel. It's a really great way to support me, and it doesn't cost you anything. It helps YouTube to recommend me to more people, and it helps me to bring you more free content more often. So click subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and then when you click more or show more, it will unpack the description box below the video, and down at the very bottom, you'll find a link to the download, both with the American spelling and with the Australian and British spelling. I hope you found this video helpful. I hope you enjoyed today's card projects, and I will see you next time.